Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. Netflix suffers massive collapse. So,
Basically.
not too far off, actually. So, Netflix just posted their Q1 earnings, and it's not good, guys. They lost like 200,000 subscribers in Q1 alone, and their stock took a massive hit. This is what happens when you spend more than you have for over a decade. It's fine to spend a lot of money on programming. A lot of streaming services spend a lot of money. Discovery spends a lot of money. Granted, not as much as everyone else. Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon. The important thing to pay attention to, though, when comparing Netflix to Amazon or Disney Plus, is those other companies have other forms of revenue. The streaming platform is just one of them. Amazon could probably close down Prime today, Prime Video today. And sure, their stock would take a little bit of hit, but they're going to be just fine. They still have, the rest of the world that they own. Or Disney, like, they could shut down Disney Plus. It would take a massive hit for them, but they still have the parks. They still have the theatrical released movies. They still have tons of merchandise. Netflix, this is all they have is the streaming platform. Yes, they have gaming coming around the corner, but I would not put my eggs in that basket because Xbox has their streaming service now. PlayStation has their attempt at a streaming service. It's still kind of disappointing, to say the least. And they're kind of force you to get that because their PlayStation Plus games have been booty for the past several months, and May is no different. Josh and I have lamented the future of Netflix for a long time, and I know a lot of people have just been like, oh, really? I didn't realize Netflix was in trouble. No, the signs have been there for a while. I've talked to so many people that don't realize how screwed Netflix is. It's like, yes, just because you know the name Netflix doesn't mean they're a healthy company. There's a reason why their shows don't last for more than 3 or 4 seasons, because that would require paying their actors more. So, in response to their massive stock drop and people canceling left, right, and center, they're doing 2 separate things. They're cutting back on their animation department from some stuff some stuff I've seen, almost cutting it out basically completely, which is a horrendous idea. And then almost just as bad is introducing an ad-supported tier, which is, it's almost a sign of desperation. Like HBO Max did it not too long ago because those numbers were not what they were expecting. I think it's different when you introduce it from the get-go. Like Peacock has one with ads, or Hulu has one with ads, but those were built specifically with an ad-supported version in mind. I don't expect Netflix to be the powerhouse that it is within 10 years. We've been saying that for a while, but it's now other big places are catching on. Just because you're the first to do something doesn't mean you're going to be the top dog forever. And that's the case here, I think.
Oh, and they really just haven't diversified. I saw a comparison into the whole situation between the difference between the rise of Netflix and the death of Blockbuster. Netflix was able to adapt. They saw that people were going to be moving to streaming, and so they did so. And their DVD stuff is virtually non-existent anymore. Now, with that being said, they've never done anything since then that would make them adapt to the game. To me, I've got a few easy fixes in my mind. First of all, doing the ad tier, stupid. Who's gonna, in their right mind, pay less for ads on Netflix? No one, especially on a format that they already have free no ads on. Like, no, screw you. I think cutting back on your animation department I agree, is absolutely the worst idea because some of your best shows are in your animation department. So that's stupid. To me, the thing that you need to do, and obviously you'll have to spend some money, but I think they would end up making more money because of it. And
the Narnia stuff.
Well, I think take your Netflix shows that are really popular and put them on DVD Blu-ray and sell them from your site. That I think Netflix is severely underestimating the value of their shows on a physical copy.
God, I would pay. I have Haunting of Hill House on a DVD just so I could get like the director's commentary and the behind the scenes stuff on
Mm-hmm,
stuff.
mm-hmm,
God, I would pay everything in my wallet for a 4K physical copy of Hill House or Stranger Things or
mm-hmm,
God, even a physical release of Hush. Like
mm-hmm,
where is that? I hadn't even thought about physical releases, but make them available to purchase someplace
mm-hmm.
else. I know you want exclusivity on Netflix, but having a buying option is probably not a bad idea. I know you and I have also talked about it of another solution that they should and probably will do, and I absolutely see them testing the water that's with this with Stranger Things season 4. Weekly releases. Like
Mm-hmm.
that one's just so easy. I know Netflix like prides themselves on creating a bingeable culture, but
Mm-hmm.
binging has been proven to not keep and retain your audience nearly as long. Like Moon Knight is doing gangbuster numbers right now because of its weekly release, or any
Yeah.
Disney Plus show because of its weekly release. Mark my words, Obi-Wan is going to have huge numbers. It's because people can build up an audience over time. Like Stranger Things is going to be everywhere when it first drops at the end of May and the beginning of June. But by the end of June, I guarantee you more people are going to be talking about Obi-Wan come June or
Mm-hmm.
July because they'll be watching it over the course of a month, not the course of a weekend. That builds up your audience's retention. Um,
Yes.
and I think that's one of the reasons why they split up Stranger Things. One, to finish up the visual effects, and two, to I think they will test this. They did it last year with the Fear Street trilogy, releasing 3 movies back to back to back. I think that's a smart idea. You retain people better. Also, novel concept, don't spend so much money on your content. As much as I'm looking forward to Stranger Things season 4, did they need to spend $30 million per episode?
No.
Like, guys, who's going to pay for that? Just because you kick it further down the street, you still have to pay for it eventually. Like, okay, cut your budget and put that money that you were going to spend on an actual marketing department. Not, hey, we should let everyone know on Facebook and Twitter like the week before this thing comes out and then never mention it again. I can't tell you how many times I
Mm-hmm.
was scrolling through Twitter and then I see the Netflix Twitter account just retweet somebody going, "Oh gosh, I love this show that I've never heard of, that it just dropped that day," and then that's about the extent of the advertising that they do for anything not named Cobra Kai or Stranger Things or The Witcher.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
this is what happens when you
Well,
don't
oh,
advertise.
dude. But like, think about that. Like, if you can get like a steelbook version of Witcher for every
Oh,
season, oh, bro, are you kidding me? I'd pay so much. Having a physical copy of seasons 1 and 2 of Altered Carbon, oh, yes, please. There's to me that is such an untapped like avenue where they're just not do. Imagine if you got a physical copy of this all of Cobra Kai, like with a pamphlet with all this other stuff on it. Like, there's just so much content on Netflix, and I think a lot of people have started to unsubscribe because at this point it's only Netflix content. And as much as I would love for to watch stuff on your streaming service, if all you have is the stuff that you've made today these days, that's not enough.
yeah, and also when your stuff is so spotty, like you've got some
Mm-hmm.
truly great stuff, but you also have some truly awful stuff. Like they're always chasing trends for better, for worse. Just like,
Mm-hmm.
just have a plan and stick to it. Just because you were the first out of the gate and you're the big name, just because you're the king on the throne doesn't mean there aren't people still trying to chop off your head
Mm-hmm.
at some point. Like, you cannot be complacent. They have eaten too much at the king's table that the servant has gotten big and strong and is ready to cut off the king's head. That worked out way better than I thought it would. But Disney Plus, They're building up that muscle. They're lifting up the sword as we speak. Prime is dragging their feet, but Prime has the money to bankroll their way to success. They're that rich kid that just becomes huge on YouTube because their parents paid for everything and all the advertising. And then don't overlook the big frickin' dragon that's about to breathe fire down your neck, which is the HBO Max Discovery merger. That mega app, whatever that ends up being, that will be a frickin' powerhouse. Especially now it's, going to be run by competent people. Netflix has been sitting on their laurels for too long, and it's now going to come back to bite them in the butt. And I don't really feel bad for them. Also, maybe stop raising your prices every 4 months.
So they could also make some money back real quick by selling some of the IPs they've collected. Whatever.
It's funny you say IPs. It's funny you say that because, again, by the time we release this podcast episode, it could be way out of date. But if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, my lifeblood is Halloween Horror Nights. And one of the rumors for this year was, in the first speculation map, it was Fear Street. Cool, that makes sense. There's a Netflix relationship. The second one swapped out Fear Street for Stranger Things, because that makes sense too, because there's a new season. Now the scuttlebutt online is that Netflix might not have a presence at Horror Nights at all this year. And I'm going,
interesting.
But you need that money. It's money for you. Universal would be using your IP. What are you doing? I'm not saying I need Stranger Things or want Fear Street to come this year, but I'm going, Netflix, you've had this relationship. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is money that you want. This is money that you need right now. People go line up for 2.5 hours for your Stranger Things houses. What? Why? But then again, it's Netflix, so I'm not surprised when they do stupid stuff.
Yeah. So to me, it's that kind of stuff. Like, okay, yeah, they should be, loaning out that IP. They should sell Magic Treehouse and Redwall to somebody that's going to use them.
Oh, yep. There's only a matter of time before Redwall got brought up.
Yeah, well, obviously, but still,
because they're furry animal people.
Just sell. Okay, no, just sell copies.
Redwall is where it started, people.
I hate you so much.